911 emergency.
Hi, I need help.
Hello?
I need help. Can you just hurry up, please? I'm gonna die. You're trying to kill me. You already killed my name. You need to hurry up, please.
Okay, ma'am, I'll start the police that way. Can you tell me what your name is?
Kiona. "911 emergency. What's the address?"
My sister's not moving. There's blood everywhere. My sister's not moving.
Haunting 911 calls have now been released as the search intensifies tonight for one of the nation's most wanted criminals. 47-year-old Derell Brown is accused of a horrific double murder in Grand Rapids, Michigan in 2019. Nearly 3 years later, Brown still walks free, likely hiding in plain sight.
You are about to hear something that is going to make you sick. Not because it's graphic, not because it's gory, but because of what should have happened and didn't. March 13th, 2019, Grand Rapids, Michigan. A 25-year-old woman named Kiona Griffin is hiding somewhere inside her family's home. She is whispering because a killer is still in the house. Her aunt is already dead, and she is next. She calls 911. She gives her address. She begs them to hurry. 3 officers arrive. They knock on the door. Nobody answers. They walk around the house. They decide there is no threat, and they leave. They drove away while she was still alive, hiding, waiting for help that never came. 2 hours, Kiona's brother walks into that same house and finds his sister on the floor of an upstairs bedroom. Shot 4 times, once in the face. In the next room, he finds his aunt Charleta lying in her bed, shot in the back of the head. The man who killed them both? He was gone. My name is Kennedy, and this is Crime Gone Viral, where we don't just tell you what happened. We make sure you understand why it matters, who is responsible, and why the fight for justice is never over. If you are ready, let's dive in. To understand this story, you need to know who lived in that house. You need to know the women whose lives were erased on that March morning because they were not just victims. They were somebody's whole world. The house at 553 Sheldon Avenue Southeast sat in a modest residential neighborhood, a yellow 2-story home owned by 64-year-old Jacqueline Baber Bay. Jacqueline was the family's anchor. Even at her age, she was still working, still holding everything together, still making sure her family had a place to call home. Jacqueline's daughter, 47-year-old Charleta Baber Bay, known to everyone who loved her as Sure, also lived there. Charleta was the kind of woman who made an impression without ever raising her voice. She was quiet, gentle, and deeply kind. An educator respected in her community. She trusted people easily, saw the good in everyone, and gave generously of herself without ever asking for anything in return. Charleta had never been in a romantic relationship before. She was 47 years old and single. For some, that might seem unusual. For those who knew her, it made perfect sense. She was choosy about who she let in. She was waiting for something real. And then she found it. Or at least, she thought she did. Kiona Griffin was Charleta's niece and her best friend. Born on March 8, 1994, Kiona had turned 25 years old just 5 days before the morning everything fell apart. She was described as vibrant, bubbly, fiercely loyal, and full of life. She could lit up every room she walked into. She made you feel like you mattered. She had recently moved into her grandmother Jacqueline's home on Sheldon Avenue, into a house full of people she loved. But something was making her uncomfortable, something she couldn't quite articulate. She had already started making plans to move out. That something had a name, and the family knew it as Jay. But before we get to Jay, let's talk about the red flags. Because they were there. They were always there. Hidden in plain sight, just like the man himself. Charleta told her family she had met him at the public library. They connected over books, over quiet corners, over the kind of conversations that feel rare in a loud world. She was instantly drawn to him. And when she brought him home, the family could see why she was happy. For the first time in her life, Cher had found someone who paid attention to her. They called him Jay. He had no job, no smartphone, no social media profile. He didn't use email. He was suspicious of government surveillance, deeply invested in conspiracy theories, paranoid about being tracked. He barely spoke to anyone outside of Charleta's bedroom. He had no close friends, no family the Baber Bays had ever met, and no visible connection to the outside world. Most of the family didn't like him. They put up with him because Charleta was in love. She was 47 years old, and this was her first real relationship. Her first real taste of what it felt like to have someone choose her. The family wasn't going to take that away from her. But Kiona wasn't convinced. She felt something that she couldn't put into words. An edge, a darkness, something about the way Jay carried himself. The way his silence wasn't peaceful, but calculated. She clashed with him repeatedly. She called him a controlling loser. She made plans to move out rather than disrupt her aunt's happiness. She just couldn't move fast enough. What the family didn't know, what Charleta herself didn't know, was that Jay's real name was Derell Damon Brown. And the history attached to that name should have made every person in that house run. Derell had been using fake names his entire adult life. J.J. Robinson, Michael Richardson, Marcus Wright, Jay Johnson. He rotated identities the way other people rotate wardrobes, strategically, deliberately, and always for the same reason: to make sure no one could find him before he was ready to be found. Before moving in with Charleta, Derell had been homeless. He'd been discovered by Reverend Robert Dean of New Life Church of God in Christ, a pastor who spotted him going through dumpsters behind the church and, in an act of profound generosity, offered him shelter. Derell moved in, worked odd jobs around the church, and for 3 months, everything seemed fine. Then a woman came to see the Reverend. She was dating Derell. She was frightened. She told the Reverend that Derell had become possessive and controlling, that he had forbidden her from speaking to any man under any circumstances. She worked as a grocery store clerk. Talking to men was part of her job. But for Derell, there were no exceptions. During that very meeting in the Reverend's office, Derell walked in. He saw his girlfriend sitting across from the Reverend, and he lost control. He barged into my office. He said he forbid her to talk to males. I said, "Now you sit down. This is my office." He lunged at her with an open hand. I had to physically restrain him. The Reverend threw Derell out of the church that day. He told him never to return. He told him to seek professional help. He told him to stop terrorizing defenseless women. Derell Brown walked away, and he found Charleta. What happened next would haunt everyone who had the chance to stop him and didn't. Before Charleta, before the church, before Grand Rapids knew the name Derell Damon Brown, there was 2005. And what happened that year is the kind of case that should have put a man away for decades. Derell was in a relationship with a woman who was also the mother of one of his children. During an argument that turned into hours of unspeakable torture, Derell attacked her in a way that is difficult to even describe. He bound her hands and feet with electrical cords. He kicked her in the face repeatedly. He gagged her so she couldn't scream. He urinated on her body. He doused her with lighter fluid and held a lighter to her skin, threatening to burn her alive. He threatened to kill her children, and then kill himself. Her 4 children, one of them his own, were sleeping upstairs throughout the night while he did this. She survived by an act of extraordinary courage. The next morning, when the children began to wake, Derell allowed her to walk them to the school bus stop. When the bus doors opened, she jumped on, covered in blood and bruises, and begged the driver to close the doors and keep driving. The driver did, and she lived. Derell Brown was arrested. He was charged with felony assault, aggravated assault, and attempted murder. The case went to a preliminary hearing. The judge found enough evidence to send it to trial, and then the victim declined to testify. Traumatized, suffering from the complex bonds that form between victims and abusers, she told the court she still loved him. She believed he needed help, not prison. She didn't want him incarcerated. Without a cooperating witness, the prosecution was forced to offer a plea deal. Derell Damon Brown, a man who had spent a night terrorizing a woman with the threat of being burned alive, pleaded guilty to misdemeanor domestic violence. He received the minimum possible sentence. He walked free. And he was free to find Charleta, free to move into her home, free to sit at her family's table, free to live under the same roof as Kiona. When detectives would later run Derell's criminal history, they would also discover that a previous girlfriend, a woman he had dated under the alias J. Johnson, had reported her 9mm high-point pistol stolen in July 2017. The same year, she filed harassment complaints against her ex-boyfriend for threatening calls and texts. His name on the complaint, J. That gun would later be found in an alley behind 553 Sheldon Avenue. 8 rounds missing, matching the casings at the crime scene. Every weapon, every alias, every warning sign, all pointing to the same man. A man the family had been sleeping beside for 2 years. The morning of March 13th, 2019, started like any other Wednesday at 553 Sheldon Avenue. Jacqueline left the house at approximately 8 o'clock in the morning. She would tell investigators later that both Charleta and Kiona were alive and well when she left. She had no reason to think anything was wrong. Nothing felt different. Nothing felt dangerous. She went to work. Inside the house, Charleta was in her bedroom. She was lying in bed, propped up against her pillow, watching something on her iPad. Her earbuds were in. She was relaxed, unhurried, completely unaware of what was coming. Derell was there too. We don't know what happened between them that morning. We don't know if there was an argument, a revelation, a triggered rage. What we know is that at some point on that March morning, Derell Brown walked up behind Charleta Baber Bay while she lay watching her iPad, earbuds in her ears, and shot her once in the back of the head. She never heard it coming. She never had a chance to fight back, to run, to call for help. The iPad kept playing. The earbuds stayed in her ears. Charleta was gone, and Kiona saw it happen. We don't know exactly what she witnessed. We don't know if she saw the shot, if she heard it, if she stumbled into the hallway at the wrong moment. What we know is that Kiona Griffin, 25 years old, 5 days past her birthday, understood in an instant that she was next. She ran. She hid somewhere in that house, likely in a bathroom, crouched low, her heart slamming against her ribs, listening for footsteps that could mean her death. At about 10 a.m., the Grand Rapids 911 dispatch center received a call from a cellular phone. On the other end, barely audible, a young woman, whispering. She couldn't speak above a murmur because the man who had just killed her aunt was still in the house, still listening.
911 emergency.
Hi, I need help.
Hello?
I need help.
Okay, where are you located? I'm sorry, ma'am, I can't hear you. Are you able to tell me where you're located?
No.
Are you at a...
553 Sheldon Avenue Southeast. Please hurry now.
Okay, I got Sheldon. What's the number?
553. Hurry, please hurry up.
553 Sheldon. Okay, can you tell me what's going on there?
You just hurry up, please. I'm gonna die. You're trying to kill me. You already killed my family. You need to hurry up, please.
Okay, ma'am, I'll start the police that way. Can you tell me what your name is?
Kiona.
And then the line went dead. In that call, under a minute long, barely audible, choked with terror, Kiona told the dispatcher everything they needed to know. She gave her address. She said someone was trying to kill her. She said her aunt was already dead. She said her name. She did everything right. The dispatcher sent officers to 553 Sheldon Avenue. But this is where the first catastrophic failure occurred, and it would cost Kiona Griffin her life. When the dispatcher relayed the call to the responding officers, he told them a female caller feared a possible assault. He noted that the caller might be experiencing a mental health episode, code 1096. He did not tell them that Kiona had said someone had already been killed. He heard it. Internal Affairs would later confirm. The dispatcher heard Kiona say, "He already killed her." Clear on the recording, but those words never made it into the dispatch. The officers who responded to 553 Sheldon Avenue that morning were responding to a possible domestic disturbance. They had no idea they were walking into an active homicide scene, with a second victim still alive inside.
(911) emergency.
From the 553 Sheldon, my sister not moving.
What's the address?
553 Sheldon, there's blood everywhere. My sister is not moving.
Okay, stand on line. You said shirt? You said she's not breathing.
I don't know. She's not moving. I'm holding her head, please. Please.
2 hours and 18 minutes after those officers drove away from 553 Sheldon Avenue, the 911 dispatch center received another call. Same address, different voice. A man this time, panicked, his voice shattering in real time. The caller was Sanford Cummings II, Kiona's brother. He had stopped by the house on his way to work, as he often did. Kiona's friend had been outside and led him upstairs. What Sanford found in that upstairs bedroom was something no human being should ever have to walk into. His sister, his bubbly, vibrant, light up the room little sister, was on the floor, covered in blood, not moving. She had been shot 4 times, once in the face. She had turned 25 years old 5 days earlier. Officers were back at 553 Sheldon within minutes. This time they went inside. In the upstairs bedroom, they found Kiona. In another room, they found Charleta, exactly as Kiona had tried to describe during her 911 call. Lying in her bed, under a blanket, shot in the back of the head. Her iPad still playing beside her, earbuds still in her ears. Under the bed, investigators found a bloodstained roll of duct tape. And the man who called himself Jay, Derell Damon Brown, was gone. He had a 3-hour head start, because nobody came when Kiona called. The family would later say it plainly. The police gave the killer a 3-hour head start, and he used every second of it. While investigators processed the murder scene at 553 Sheldon Avenue, Derell Damon Brown was already moving. Surveillance cameras across Grand Rapids tracked his movements in the hours after the murders. He was caught on footage approximately 1 mile north of the crime scene. He was on foot, no vehicle, no urgency in his stride. Calm. Few hours after killing 2 women in their own home, Derell Brown walked into the Grand Rapids Children's Museum. He approached the front desk. He told an employee he knew someone inside the building and needed to see them. Staff made clear he couldn't wander the building unaccounted for. He spoke with the employee, spoke with the security guard, and then, 12 minutes later, he walked back out. Think about that audacity. Not just the act itself, but the calm, the composed, deliberate calm of a man who has rehearsed disappearing. 20 minutes later, another business security camera caught him several miles from the crime scene. Investigators later learned that one of his former girlfriends had dropped him off in that neighborhood. A woman who likely had no idea what he had just done. A woman helping him escape without knowing she was helping him escape. And then Derell Brown vanished. No vehicle registered in his name. No credit card. No cell phone. No social media account. No employer. No fixed address. He had been living off the grid for years, by design, as investigators would come to understand. This was not accidental anonymity. This was engineered disappearance. He had spent his entire adult life building the infrastructure to vanish. Multiple aliases, no digital footprint, a pattern of inserting himself into communities, shelters, churches, homes of women who trusted him, and disappearing when he needed to. Law enforcement launched a nationwide manhunt. A warrant was issued in February 2020, 2 counts of open murder and receiving and concealing a stolen firearm. Months passed. Nothing. In July 2021, the U.S. Marshals Service placed Derell Damon Brown on their 15 most wanted fugitives list. The reward for information leading to his arrest, $25,000, and still nothing. Investigators have warned the public. He looks completely ordinary. He could be standing behind you in a grocery checkout line right now. You would never know. He uses aliases. He memorizes details. He targets women who trust easily, women who are lonely, gentle, in need of connection. He presents himself as quiet, harmless, misunderstood. And by the time the truth surfaces, it is always too late. This story is not over, and it was never just a story. It is a lesson, a warning, a call to action, and it lives in the choices ordinary people make every day. First, trust your instincts about the people around you. Kiona Griffin trusted hers. She felt something dark about Derell Brown from the moment she met him. She couldn't articulate it. She couldn't prove it, but she knew. The family dismissed her concerns because Charleta was happy, and that is a completely human and understandable response. But when someone you trust says something feels wrong about a person, that deserves more than a polite dismissal. Second, domestic violence does not always announce itself with bruises. Derell Brown was described by everyone who met him as quiet, mild-mannered, and unassuming. His pattern, isolation, control, aliases, zero digital footprint, are textbook warning signs of a predator who operates in the dark. If someone you love is in a relationship with a person who has no job, no friends, no identity anyone can verify, who controls their movement and discourages connection, that is not love. That is captivity. Third, if you know something about Derell Damon Brown, you have a moral obligation to speak. Not a legal obligation, a moral one. This man is dangerous. His pattern shows he targets women who are isolated, who trust easily, who give their hearts fully. Somewhere right now, there may be a woman who has welcomed a quiet, mild-mannered man into her life, a man who goes by a name that isn't his, who has no idea who is sleeping beside her. Your tip could save her life. If you found this video powerful, if Kiona's story made you feel something, then let that feeling become action. Like this video. Share it. Subscribe to Crime Gone Viral so you never miss a case. Leave a comment below. Tell us, what do you think should happen to the dispatcher who failed to relay what Kiona said? What would justice look like for this family? Because your engagement isn't just metrics. It keeps this case alive. It keeps Kiona's name in circulation. It means that somewhere, someone who might have seen Derell Brown might watch this video and finally make that call. We are Crime Gone Viral. We cover the cases the world forgets. We refuse to let them fade. We are the voice for the voiceless, the memory for the forgotten, and the light in the darkness of unsolved crimes. Kiona Griffin called for help. Help never came, but we can still answer that call by refusing to let the world forget her. Until next time, stay aware, stay compassionate, and never stop demanding justice. Rest in peace, Kiona. Rest in peace, Charleta. Rest in peace, Jacqueline. Rest in peace, EJ. You are never forgotten.